The Zarlequan Indieverse.
What have you been up to since last time you were on the show? You were on last time because you're a really cool author and you wrote a book about stammering, which actually public speaking helped you to overcome a lot of these stammering issues. And my gosh, you have such an incredible life. You lived in Istanbul and you've done so many things. But today I asked you to come back on because I want to talk about your music.
Mm, I'm very happy to do so. I don't really know how to even start, really, but I will respond to questions as I do.
Okay, well, you know what? Talk to me about when did you discover that music was a passion for you?
Um, I suppose about when I was about 14 in 1989, and discovering specifically the music of The Cure and Prince, sort of at the same time from Britain and from America. These two men, Robert Smith and Prince, were just making this incredibly colourful artistic music, not like the George Michaels and the Guns N' Roses at the time, which was the cool set, or the jocks, to put it that way. I preferred the uh, intellectual nerd set over there doing weird, interesting music. It was just much more exciting to me. I was in the middle of those groups, but I definitely went to that music, and it just stimulated me so much. And I realized I could play the guitar and the drums. Started to do that and to basically speak that language for the rest of my life, till now.
Yeah. Well, and you're still doing it now, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the 2000s and 2010s, those decades, I actually released quite a lot of albums in Istanbul. I got out loads of that stored up creative energy in music, and it's never over. A musician's a musician; it's inside you. But the truth is that I expressed loads of those ideas that I wanted to do. They're all recorded. They're out there doing their Spotify thing, and that's great. I haven't actually played live for a couple of years because of basically doing lots of other things. Not being in the middle of Istanbul makes it more difficult. Back in Britain, there's more of a um, I'm just getting on with other things in my life, like the painting and the writing and things like that. But I'm still doing the re-releases of music. I just released Istanbul, which was the debut album 20 years ago, about a month ago. So that's doing its re-release because there's a whole new environment of how to listen to music out there. The streaming revolution has been amazing. I'm a I, I wasn't particularly a supporter of it when it first came out. It's like change. Now it's just bloody brilliant because you get your stuff out there. Once it's done its playlist, Spotify suggests things that you might like, and it's almost always right. And you're like, oh, what's that? It's fascinating. It's a very creative place to be. So good on them, I say.
I definitely agree with that. I keep hearing from musicians. I think every time there's a change, well, change scares people, but every time there's a change, it's the, oh my gosh, what do I do now? Because you don't really release albums quite like you used to back in the 80s and 90s or, previous to that. An album was a big deal. And now it's just everybody releases singles and maybe they all are part of an album, but you can stream them for free. So then musicians are like, well, how do I make money? Then and so then you have to find the whole new way of doing uh of making money and still yet sharing your art at the same time. That's a difficult thing. How are you balancing that?
Yeah, it's not the world of Elton John anymore, of having your mansion out in Essex and sort of Las Vegas. I don't know any musician who actually earns their entire thing off streaming or Spotify or anything like that. Um, and to be honest, it hasn't been that for years and years. Even when the big artists were selling loads of CDs, they also weren't supporting themselves on that. It was usually the sort of merch and the live shows and things like this and publishing, which it's all part of the ecosystem. And I've always had different jobs outside of music, and because I've never done anything else, it's something to be ashamed of. Um, it shouldn't be ashamed of doing any of these things anyway. I used to be an English teacher, being a musician at the same time, and then I had the venue and doing music at the same time, and that sort of thing. I was a chef back at university times, supporting myself through that and doing the music. So you do as much when it comes to work, aim for something to do as enjoyable as possible. But we've all got to pay the rent and just try to make that sort of process as enjoyable as you can. And they should realize that there's nobody out there who isn't doing something like this, trying to pool all your resources in the postmodern capitalism situation that we're in. Nothing to be ashamed of, and just crack on with it. And the problem is here, the real best is determined by the ones who stick at it the most. Is that fair? Possibly not. And also, if a song is wonderful, it'll get through anyway. But you really do have to push this stuff for it to be heard. There's so many good songs that you just hear by accident, and they don't have any of the muscle behind them because they're not fashionable or not sponsored.
It's true. It's true. So multiple streams of income, I think that's a very a big topic. But the way you're saying it is basically you're doing everything you're passionate about in different areas, and they all bring in different, and because being a chef and being a musician, those are creative things. That's still creative to be a chef. And you're a painter, as we can see behind you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. That sort of stuff is the real heart and soul, which I did the degree in back then. I was a rubbish chef. I'm absolutely terrible. It was just purely for the money. So I couldn't bear the people I was working with. I couldn't bear the environment. Not always. Sometimes it was really good fun, but it was basically an alcoholic situation. Lots of the chefs were completely off their head on drugs all the time. It was very, very strange few years. I'm not being very fair on them because they weren't all like that. That's the ones that I knew,
Right.
And I didn't have a chance to express any creativity. It was all about do this on time or get out, and it's like, fine, yeah, chef. So that was my experience of chefing, not entirely creative, but maybe it was. I'm just kind of underrating it. I don't know, but it's not. I like being in charge of my own stuff. I'm that kind of artist, and I'm not as far as control freak because I like to collaborate as well and get lots of ideas. But I know that if I have to share an idea too much, the original idea gets a bit blanded out. So I do try my best to hold on to something until I've signed it off, because then at least you can be proud of it 20 years later. That's what I found anyway.
Yeah. Well, you also make music videos. There, you have some music videos up on YouTube. Did you make them yourself, or did you hire someone? How did you get those done?
The old ones, which are done with Scorpio Rising, the band in Istanbul, they were mainly from photographers of Istanbul who were ambitious and that they were keen on what we were doing. So they'd get in touch, and I'd just say, "Yeah, come along to a practice or a gig." They come along with their gear, and they sort of take it there, go home and do the edit, and then just send it to me. And I'm like, "Yep, that's brilliant. We'll use that." And it's just like you put all these ideas as best you can because they're keen, they enjoy what you're doing, and they know it's cool, so it'll do. And you just put all that together as it came. The ones I've done this time round, because we're sort of to 10 years later now and into this back in Britain, are mostly done by a woman called Jennifer Thetford Kay, who's an online spirit on X, and that's how we met anyway. But she's a real person, and she has real skills, and she's really dedicated to doing some really cool little videos. So she does, and they're very much of the tech that we have these days. So the ones in Istanbul were the tech then, and the ones we have now are the tech now. I'm a bit more kind of. If it was left to me, it would all just be very straight shots without any effects and stuff because I'm lo-fi, lazy as well. But she's much more technologically adept. So yeah, I'm very happy with what she's done. The stuff that we've given her have been quite relaxed songs, so there's nothing to really, the song is mellifluous and smooth. The singles that I've released this year, because they weren't released at the time that they were recorded. It's quite a mature thing that she's been able to work with. But lots of my stuff's much more punky and weird, which hasn't been given her treatment yet.
So what would you say is your favorite song of the ones you have like on YouTube? I don't know how many are here. You have quite a few.
Yeah, I think it's about 85 to 90 I've got out there in amidst about 6 albums and a couple of compilations. It's such a difficult question, favorite. However, there's one called Skin Match Version, which was the whole of the Scorpio Rising band, I think in 2013, together in a studio. and it's the only one where it's all completely live, all done, us eight people in the room, a violin and this brilliant bass player, and I'm singing away, and the backing the vocalist girls there. And we really caught it over. That was the third take. That's skin match version there, and it comes out really well. I'm really proud of that because of it's a memory, and it also works as a pop song. So yeah, skin match version for an answer to that question, which is a difficult one.
That is a difficult one. It's like, who's your favorite child? Ah!
Exactly. They're all beautiful.
Exactly. Exactly. So like, are you writing these songs yourself, or were these accumulated with other bandmates?
Pretty much all myself. That when I was a boy, when I was about 20, I did some writing with my old bandmates. But the bandmates quickly realised that I was off somewhere doing crazy things with them, which they weren't necessarily able to keep up with, and so they sort of go, "You just do it." So I started to just like take responsibility, control of them from there, and everyone was happy with that because I come up with very different arrangements. It's been pretty much how it is, and everyone's happy with that because I tend to do my work at home alone happily, and I come to a practice or whatever or collaboration with it. I say, "That's what it is. What do you think?" And they go, "Great. There's nothing I can do." So you have something there, which is perhaps that's the people I've worked with. In 2015, I was working with someone called Etuspedix Butilator, who's a musician in Sussex, down the coast, and he's an ambient musician and a very, very sophisticated sound artist. And we recorded an album together called Ninja Lit, Ninja Lit. Spell that one. And the album itself got quite successful. It was very surprising because it's easily the strangest thing I've ever made, because his music's absolutely left field as it's crazy. So I'm enjoying that, and I'm putting little stories over the top of it, quite dark, strange stories, like of a character from Istanbul I invented called Anthony H. Wolfstadt, who has this bizarre expat life out there. So elements plucked and elements observed, put onto Etuspedix's strange music to make that bizarre album. And so if anyone wants to go and have an explore of the really odd things that I can do, it was that one. But that was the closest collaboration, which was it's not even that, because it was so I was just doing the words, he was just doing the music, bang them together and hope for the best. But he did an amazing production job at the same time. So that's simplistic.
That's awesome. What do you do to get into the creative mindset to write a song?
The creative block sort of thing. Sort of the other writers hate it when I say this, but I don't get them. I'm very fortunate. I just get a piece of paper, put an idea onto that, whether it's a word or a sentence or a visual, a line, and I just have an ability to switch off my kind of the rational mind and go with whatever's in the back of it, the right brain, whatever they call it, and I just start to make, and then after whatever's come to fruition in front of you, that's when the editing starts, and that's the songwriting really, or the poetry writing, or whatever the form is. I do actually see all these things as the same source, that it's the same expression is the best term for it. And then you go, what have I got? Hey, this thing behind me, if people are just listening, they're not going to know what I'm talking about, but a big painting, I don't know what's going on there, but it's very, very vibrant and very interesting. And it's like, well, okay, that's what happened. I don't have an ownership of it. It's just, it comes out. And people have sort of said that's the voice of God in the past, haven't they? But I don't know. I don't go there. I just go, I enjoy the process very much. And then when it's done, you just have produced this thing that's in front of you. And so it's a very, I'm very fortunate in not getting those blocks. If that ever happens one day, it happens. I've done a lot, and the idea is before that happens, you get as much done as you can as possible, so that when death arrives, you've done a bunch of stuff. That's my creative urge anyway.
I love that. I love that, actually. That's funny. Most of my creative endeavors, I have no idea where it's going. Like, I thought I was writing a book, and then I wrote several songs for this book, and then I'm like, I'm like, I don't know where it's going to go next. Let's see where it evolves to. This is exciting. And I'm like, I don't know just as much as you don't.
Exactly. That's the joy. then afterwards you start to package it and market it and say, what have I done? And that's good fun. That's it's just another part of the art, really, isn't it? Especially in these postmodern times, without wanting to get pretentious, we all have to package it up afterwards. You can't just go, there you go, audience, you better like that because I made it. It's much more complicated now. You have to tell them why they might like it, and that's okay. They've got a investment in it themselves, haven't they? So the times of the arrogant artist are really, really changing into whatever they are now, or have changed.
Oh, there you are. Okay. It froze.
Mm.
Okay. Um, I don't know where we were. It froze for a minute. Yeah.
The tabla rasa.
The tabla rasa, what?
Just having a white piece of paper in front of you and how to
How
the,
to,
the creative
yeah.
urge.
I think with me is I keep having more. I'm like, okay, so I have projects in line that I'm trying to get to because I have so many things that I'm like, this is exciting. Let's do this one. Like, I already have a new show. I have a movie project. I'm making a little mini TV series. It's like kind of for kids, but it's just kind of funny and silly. So I have all these things and I'm like, I'm still trying to get back to other things to refine them or finish them. Like I was making some music videos and I did some video placeholders just to kind of like give me an idea, like a storyboard kind of an idea of what I wanted the video to look like, but I haven't remade the video the way I wanted to yet. And I'm like, and
Mm-hmm.
so that's all on hold while I'm doing this other stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
hopefully I have some finished projects at some point though.
But it happens when it happens, doesn't it? This is kind of and you want to enjoy the process because once you've been doing it a while, you know that it's the process that actually is. You have to get older to realize that, don't you? That's when it was good. Yeah, the thing that you were doing.
That's what I'm constantly telling everybody. I'm like, dude, you have to make the journey fun. It's all about the journey to get there. Because how long do we prepare to go on vacation for months or weeks, and then we get there, we're only there for like a week, and then we get
Mm-hmm.
we're it's all about the journey. If it's the journey's not exciting, then put it down.
Absolutely, well said. That's well said, and that's why we're probably such sort of cheerful people, despite all the bullshit that we probably have to live through. We're still exactly getting on with the happiness of it. Oh, excuse my friend.
Yeah, it's like, cool. Yeah, I think it does come with age. I think you're right. I've been having conversations with people all going, if I could go back to, my teenage self or even my 20s or whatever, the things I would tell myself. Like, how
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
funny. Like it's funny to think about that. And I'm like, but there's a reason we don't know then.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. We're sort of storing up all this stuff and the things that we're doing right now, we don't know what they're going to look like in 20 years and the rest of it. And you just get them out anyway. And the good thing about internet world is that it stores it for you. So at least you can then come back with a future eye and go, well, that was rubbish, or that was absolutely brilliant. I'm so happy I did it. Why not? It's all there.
I do both of those too. I look back at my stuff going, oh, wow, that's
Yeah,
terrible. And sometimes I'm like, hey, good job.
exactly. And it's the least expected stuff. I don't know about
Yeah.
you, but when something's really rough and like you think at the time you're thinking, oh God, come back, you're like, whoa, that's really fresh. I had no idea that it was. It's good to keep things raw sometimes, but it just never feels like that when you're doing it.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. I look at it and yeah, and you don't know. You have no idea how you're going to feel later on. I have a problem of keeping so much. Like I want to keep the original where it's really bad and really raw,
Hmm.
but then I want to take the other revisions and see what do those sound like, and now what do I feel like now that there's been some time. I talk to
Yeah, yeah.
people. Do we go back and just keep revising our old stuff now that we have new knowledge? I'm like, no, because that speaks for itself at the same time.
Yeah, well, it's a really interesting point about art and internet, isn't it? That like we can endlessly remix, and I don't really think that's a really good idea for what I do anyway, because you just get rid of the source gradually by peeling off the layers of an onion, and I don't know, it's just a money making thing really for the big names, and I wouldn't want to do it to anything I've done.
Yeah, yeah, I think
Exactly.
you're right. It makes
Mm.
sense. Yeah. So I'm going to, at the end of this video, I will connect a music video of yours so that people can hear, and they'll go to your channel automatically. And I'll put it in the description box. Can you tell us about the song you want me to share with them?
I'm going to give you a song that isn't out yet. It's actually out on Friday. So
Oh,
I don't. We didn't talk about this at all, of course. Tell you now, but "Happenstance" is my Christmas single. This is a very unusual thing. It was recorded 14 years ago in Istanbul with a guy from the Wingmen called Mr. Rod McKee, and he's an Irish singer. And after all this time, I just thought, my goodness, that's Christmassy, and it's got some lyrics in it which refer to Christmas. It's just like your backdrop there with the log fire and everything. It's lovely, and we got Jennifer to do a video for it. So I'll give you that, and then hopefully underneath the people can have a listen to it as long as this gets released after Friday, which I guess it will. So
yeah, we will do that now.
yeah,
That would be awesome. So yeah, it'll be at the end of the song where, it does next video. So it depends if you have yours. So it auto plays, then that's what it'll do, or you'll have to tap on it. But
right,
either way, either in the description
good.
and at the end there too. So, and you're
How
most
very novel.
active. You're most active on LinkedIn, from what I see.
Yeah. Well, that's the serious place. So I've got all these hats, and LinkedIn is people being serious, isn't it? So I pretend to be serious on there. But like, if I do sort of the writing about justice reform or just the shares, that there's a lot of writers that I like who I often share, and I do a proper share on there about whatever's going on in the British justice reform scene, and that's always changing. There's always hot news about identity politics and justice reform. I find very interlinked, and my intellectual part does a lot of writing on that. I don't stay there all the time, but I do go over to LinkedIn to share about that, but also the music over there too. So yeah, that's usually what I use that for. I've got a big old, but I don't like it when I'm not the audience for people trying to sell me how to live my life. There's loads of that on LinkedIn. It's just like bombarded by better ways to live. And I'm like, not interested. Why I'm over here? Over on X, you don't get that. You just get people abusing you, which is somehow more fun than people telling you how to live.
Well, so where do you go for the fun? Is that Instagram, or where are you at which social media are you on for fun?
Inside of my head, I suppose X is the most fun because
Okay.
there's an actual people on there who are into what I do, and it is very organic sort of. They understand the heaviness and the light stuff, which I'll do at the same time, and they enjoy that. Whereas there are other accounts, aren't there, who just do the one thing, which is obviously like getting your niche and doing that one thing, but it's not me because I'm just much more going on than that. So it's X really. I don't do Facebook anymore. I did it for about 10 years and stopped in about 2018, a little bit last year, and then I'm just not on Facebook or Instagram, which is the same thing as far as I'm concerned. I'm an Elon Musk man, I suppose, and Spotify, of course. Right.
Yeah, you're on Spotify as well and YouTube. So because we're going to
YouTube,
connect to
yeah.
YouTube from here and on the podcast. I mean, I could put a link to your Spotify. I don't know how to link your Spotify. I'll have to look. I don't know.
Hmm.
I'll put it in the description if I can't figure out how to do some other way.
Okay, I will send it to you. They've got this amazing thing over there, which I only discovered earlier this year. They've really upped Spotify's for a couple of years, in about 2020 with the pandemic. I went quiet. I was off grid for like a couple of years, and I only came back on about last year, now 2022, and I saw what Spotify had done. I hadn't really opened it. I had my stuff bubbling away, but I opened it up, and there's all these playlists doing their playlist thing. So a person would add one of your songs to it, and you get like 20,000 song plays in a day and things. And it was like, good lord, what's going on here? And then you get these fans, listeners. I don't like fans, listeners, who are then your listeners. It was just an incredibly interesting way of doing it. And so I've been trying to jump on the back of that with my old material and going, well, you guys might not have heard this. And they go, no, we haven't. We love it. And so it's a great way of building up your old, but I don't change it. It's just it's a repackaging, but it's not changed music. It's just because I don't. If a thing's recorded, like we're talking about remixing, leave it there. You know, that's the conservative in me, which isn't strong, but it is there. Of like, have something, have a painting, have a song. Don't mess around with it too much, because I don't want to confuse my audience that much.
That's cool. I like how that, yeah, that's a cool way of sharing music. I like how we're evolving into different avenues. Well, I appreciate you being here today and sharing your music and sharing your artistic journey again. It's been fun having you.
Absolutely. Delighted to come on your shows. I could come on to any of them, any of the projects that you have going on. I'd love to be in your film as well, a cameo.
Oh, really? Oh, well, that would be
Why not?
awesome. Well, you know,
I could be the Englishman.
there you go. There you go. We're actually, so one of my film projects it's film fusion. So what we're doing is 9 different teams, and they could be individuals. I'm a team. And so what we're doing is everybody gets 10 minutes. You have to write the screenplay, and it can go from anywhere. So like the first 10 minutes is mine, and I'm a warrior in battle, and we're fighting, and then like I'm in the tent, you know, talking battle strategy, and I get kidnapped from like a space portal and taken to the future. And so the next 10 minutes is me in the future helping these future people fight androids, or, you know, AI computers, fight in the year 3000 something. And then so we have to have 7 more teams anyways to do that, and so that you can only film with your phone, and you have to, you know, come up with whatever costumes and stuff like that, and so I'm in both of them, and obviously I'm filming here where I live, but the next person in line is in Philadelphia, so we have to try to make it look the same and film at the same time. I think it's gonna be fun. It's just a big, yeah, I think it's going to be fun. I'm having a good time with
Sounds
that
insane.
I know, right? Well, so everybody gets 10 minutes, and then so we can show those by themselves, and then at the like we can put all the 10 minutes together, and it'll be an hour and a half of a feature-length film that actually all goes together. That's what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay, right. Like the kind of the multi-chaptered books that they used to do in the old days, like books which come from all those different perspectives, but then come together to formulate at the end.
Yeah.
How exciting.
Yeah. So if you're interested in that, that would be fun. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I have the costumes on order and like getting things ready. And so I'm excited to jump into it and see what happens. I've been researching how to do, you know, cinematic video on YouTube and whatnot, and seeing what very little equipment I can buy. I have microphones from podcasting, and so I'm like, how can I use those in like different things? I'm trying to figure it out. Anyways.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds wonderfully creative. It's the kind of thing that's good to hear the start of, because then the end of it happens, you know, like, wow, I knew that when it was just in development.
Right? How cool is that? Well, if you are interested in any of these projects, then let me know. Email me, and I'd love to. Yeah, I'm always looking for more people to collaborate with, because that's what makes things fun.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and it gets them to share it more, of course, and get
yes,
Elon Musk to have a watch and sorted.
Yes, absolutely. Anyways, you have a good night then, and I'll have a good rest of my day.
Lovely. Thank you, Brittany. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. I'll see you soon, hopefully.
On the side. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this enlightening episode of the Zarlequan podcast. Remember to subscribe to our newsletter so you never miss a beat.